and the first item on the agenda was accomplished earlier this morning. The swearing has been completed. We will proceed now with the election of officers. The bylaws describe that there are 3 officers with our corporation: president, vice president, and treasurer. We'll take nominations for any of those appointments at this point.
I move nominate Ron Moore for president.
Second.
I have a nomination by Mr. Dirkman and a second by Mr. Simmons. And any discussion on this? Well, I guess there's only one to decide, any discussion. And I'll say, I appreciate the fact these gentlemen have expressed confidence in me. I've just met them, and I will accept the nomination. So therefore, let's have a vote. John?
Ron Moore.
Yes.
Leo Dirkman. Yes. Brian Simmons.
Simons. Yes.
Simons.
Yes.
Simon. Thank you, gentlemen. I appreciate the vote of confidence. Next, we would entertain, still have 2 positions to fill, vice president and secretary treasurer. The floor is open for nominations.
I nominate Mr. Simons, thank you, as vice president.
I will second that. We have a motion made by Mr. Dirkman and seconded by Mr. Moore. Is there any discussion? Having none, John, please call roll.
Brian Simons.
Yes.
Leo Dirkman.
Yes.
Ron Moore.
Yes. We have one position left, and that is secretary treasurer. So I would nominate Leo Dirkman
Second.
as secretary treasurer.
Second.
We have a nomination by Ron Moore and second by Mr.
I'd like to,
Simons.
before we vote on this measure, I'd like to ask the city attorney a question, if you don't mind.
Yes, absolutely.
So I do not want to prepare minutes. I'm not going to prepare minutes as secretary. I'm just going to tell you that. I'd like to decline that and assign that task to our city attorney based upon the meeting minutes that she can get from the audio portion of the minutes, or her assigned. Is that acceptable to you? I'll accept a nomination with that caveat.
Very good. All right, we have an accepted nomination with a reservation that the city attorney will pull together minutes and present them to Leo to present to us. Do we have a vote?
Leo Dirkman. Yes. Brian Simmons.
Simons. Yes.
Simons.
We'll get there.
Ron Moore.
Yes. Well, thank you, gentlemen. Now we have a full slate, and I appreciate that, and I look forward to working with both of you in the positions, as well as you, Caitlin, in support of our efforts. Thank you. We had a meeting in last September. This is the first meeting since then, and we need to have a vote on the September 13th, 2023 meeting minutes. I believe they were all published. Was there any ideas or any conversation or any discussion from those meeting minutes?
Having not participated, I don't have any comments, but if you need a favorable motion, I will make that motion to approve.
I have a motion.
I'll second.
Now we have a motion by Mr. Dirkman and Mr. Simons is second. John?
Brian Simons.
Yes.
Leo Dirkman.
Yes.
Ron Moore.
Yes. Thank you, gentlemen. Moving on. First piece of business for this reconstituted body is to get an update for Station 81 project. The project, for the benefit of the gentleman here, has just recently been completed and been occupied and is now functioning as a fire station and headquarters, and we are in repayment. John, can you fill us in on where that stands?
The project currently has a construction fund balance of $31,453.41, which is currently looking to be applied to some expenses. We are working with Huntington right now to get that done. The operating fund has a balance of $7,037.91, and we'll continue to hold that for any legal fees or anything that comes along. And the sinking fund currently has a balance of $466,527.43, which will be applied to the August 1st payment.
Okay, good. Is that the first or second payment?
That's the first.
That's our first payment, right, okay. So we're in repayment as of August 1st.
Correct.
Total amount,
I'm sorry?
the total amount for that first payment?
Was $466,527.43.
Is there any timing on the execution of the other funds that are there, to whether they either be discharged or?
No, there is
applied to
not
other things?
any.
So they'll just be open for now?
Yeah, they can be there until we need them.
Okay, all right. Anything else, John?
No, that's it.
I haven't talked to them lately. Have they expressed any discontent with the building?
No, actually, I had a conversation with Rob yesterday. I'm very happy with the product.
Awesome,
Structure is working just like he had hoped.
excellent, excellent. Gentlemen, any questions? Thank you, John. And the next thing is to we only have two projects, gentlemen, and one is the project for Station 81, which is going into repayment, which will require us very little time to take care of. And we're still working with Old Town and the garage project. I believe we're going to have an update from, please state your name.
Old Town.
Vice President of Development and Project Executive for the Union Square project. Thanks for having me today.
Oh,
How's everybody doing?
doing well.
Appreciate you putting the PowerPoint up there. Trying to prepare just some visuals as well. You can go to the next slide, it just kind of talks about, I'll go through kind of last 90 days and next 90 days. I think next slide. So we have completed all of the major concrete pouring for the foundations, garage, and putting levels to support the apartment structure above. We have backfilled the majority of the building, so kind of gotten out of the right of way for the 32 expansion. I know the utilities were able to come through there and do their boring on schedule as they were anticipating, so working well with all parties in downtown Westfield right now. So far, that's going well. We've extended the fire and water, or I'm sorry, the fire line into the water room, working on restraints and making sure that that's all code compliant for the future tie-in to the building. I think everybody's probably seen the tower crane go up by now. Fun hood ornament for Westfield right now, but the panels for technically the second part of the building showed up 3 weeks early on the schedule, so we're making up time hopefully through the framing process on our schedule. It's looking good. Trying to make up about 2 to 3 days per floor configuration. So as long as we've got clear skies and weather in front of us, the framing panel should go fairly smooth. It's all well orchestrated and organized at the moment. everything is kind of stretched to try and reach a dry-in date sometime in early December. Will greatly help and reduce winter conditions through that winter time. So everything is looking good for that right now, as long as we continue well through the framing stages. And then we will get our elevators delivered, and we will get temp power for the remaining part of the construction set up here this month yet, so that everybody's got what they need moving forward. Any questions on kind of last 90 days, next 90 days? I got a couple photos to run through to kind of show you guys some visuals as well.
Any questions, gentlemen, at this point? Please continue.
This is just some of the operations you'll see. So foundation backfill, the sheep's foot creates the design in the dirt there that gets us to our compaction levels. That's the south elevation looking towards the park. That's where all the retail and leasing and coffee shop will be on this end of the building, as well as the 5 other tenants that we have in the building. And then just a west elevation looking south there. These are the podium level pours. Pour 6, the team's proud of that. 650-yard cast and plate pour. That was a really large concrete pour on a really good day. It went well. Stair towers going up, looking over the west pool vault. What you're seeing there is the recessed slab in the second floor. The pool is not that big. The bars that you see, kind of the inside there, that's the pool size that the gunite walls will go up, and then the rest of that will be leveled off deck to create the elevated pool. It'll overlook the park, will be fun. Just more pictures. This is the steel going up on that podium level, finishing up the stair towers. Couple pictures of the tower crane going in. So the 3 guys in the hole is the first section of the tower crane going in. During foundation time, they come in and they put some supports that get poured into the foundation. And then these guys, it's a pretty crazy concept. They put that in there and then they just slide pins in. And that's what attaches it to the whole thing coming up through the elevator shaft. So that elevator shaft is the single elevator that goes to every floor in the building. It goes all the way up to the 6th floor and down to the 2 levels of the garage as well. All the other elevators do the same, but they don't go up to that 6th level. So this will be the last elevator shaft that gets completed once we get up to the top. It'll get built as we go up, and then once we get to the top, they'll lift that tower crane out of that shaft, and we'll finish it off as an elevator. I'm sure everybody's seen the airplanes flying around Westfield, but just happened to capture them in a moment where the crane was going up, so fun picture.
Yeah, nice flyover.
What's that?
Nice flyover.
Yes, very nice flyover. That did not cost us a dime, because that was just a happenstance picture there. Just more pictures of the crane getting erected. I know it's the first tower crane for Old Town, which is exciting for us. And I believe, I don't know, the hospital probably had the tower crane on it, so I wasn't here then, but yeah, very exciting for us. Fun to see. And then wall panels. So this was taken the week of early the week of the July 4th week. So if you drive by today, there's way more wall panels up. The next level floor trusses are on site and getting ready to start being installed this week. So could see the 2nd floor starting to be framed as early as next week. So again, picking up a couple days, hopefully on each floor with that duration. Just another site, fun drone photos that we can get for the site. We are ramping up to get ready to close Sun King financing and start the Sun King construction with the relocation of the fire station. That's all anticipated to be end of July, early August here, so we're quickly approaching that. So we had some selective demo done on the front porch that was requested by Wolf Movers, who will also be doing our move. I know they're doing the historic green building there on the corner in downtown. So that is all prepped and ready to go. We have a little bit of dirt to move around the building to allow them to drive it just north on our site as a temporary holding position until we can get aggregate piers and the foundation in. They actually will build the new foundation around the building once it's brought and kind of, it'll be set in place, still elevated, and then they'll build the foundation around it and then drop it on the new foundation, is the current plan. So exciting construction there, not stuff you get to do every day. Just some more pictures of the progress being made there and anticipation of that moving. We are on the schedule for August 6th, I believe, or that first week in August to do our initial relocation of the firehouse structure. Project schedules, just previous reported meeting to where we are now. We've had about 30, I think last I saw was 33 weather days since January 1. So start of the year wasn't great for us to try and maintain schedule. But we have pulled back. I think we were at 628 about a month ago and framing panels. So we're going to start to see that schedule kind of come backwards now that we're out of the ground and through concrete.
Under current project schedules, you say that the garage is complete. What does that mean?
The structure is complete. So right now we are working through just kind of punch list items with the concrete vendor, Lithgow. There was some minor honeycombing on a few columns and beams that they're fixing and getting appropriately taken care of. Getting a lot of their material off-site, their formwork and things like that. So what would be left in the garage would be kind of the MEPs of it, if you will. So we're roughing those in. We've got the exhaust fans that keep airflow through there, lighting, sensors that we've worked with the city to incorporate into the parking kind of dynamic of the structure. So what we kind of talked about this week. We'll do kind of a completion walk with the city and owners representation to show that the structure itself is complete, but that won't be the final turnover punch list walk. We'll wait to do that. We're not going to install all the systems just for fear of damage or just longevity until we get to early next summer to truly open the garage for the public.
Understood. Thank you.
And I think that, buyout status, just contracts issued and kind of where we're at. So garage is fully executed. Apartments looks to be fully executed. I thought we were missing maybe one contract signed back, and then Sun King's anticipated to have about 28 vendors, and we're hoping to have 50% of the construction cost bought out by the end of July. So that's our pre-construction team is pressing on that to get to a closing at the end of July for that. Questions, comments?
Okay, so the garage is essentially complete from the standpoint of concrete.
Mm-hmm.
You've got finishing to do, which would be, as I understand, you said lighting and sensors and,
Yep.
and that sort of things, and you're working with the city on those things. Are those things under contract at this point?
We have executed change orders that that explain the scopes of work and what is being brought into the garage, and I can go through those real quick. So, eco parking system are sensors that notify you of spaces that are open as you're driving through the garage. It also will have a counter at both entrances of the garage to tell you how many spaces are available. So there's not the condition that you come into the garage, drive around for 5 minutes to only find out there's no spaces. So that'll be a nice tool. The flock system, which is the police kind of monitoring system that will track license plates as they go in and out of the garage. To know, they'll basically, if you're on the list, it'll notify you that you've entered that garage, and the police can come find you. Couple parking garage signage ads, just for public notification that it is a public parking. And I'm missing one, Janelle. I can't think of what the other one is. Cameras? Oh, the EV chargers. So all the infrastructure is currently being brought in for the electric vehicle chargers, and there will be future spaces available to add later on. There's some infrastructure being put in place there.
Sounds like good, sounds like good improvements to what we originally had.
I would agree. Yep.
Gentlemen, any questions?
So I'd like for the document to be made part of the minutes. Thank you. Make sure that'll be standard practice, if you don't mind. Thank you. So I'm obviously backfilling my knowledge here, so I beg your pardon too. So what component of this structure are we responsible for? Is it the parking garage only, or is it the entire project? What did we provide the conduit financing, I'm presuming, for here?
Yeah, just the garage.
Just the garage?
Yep.
And all the funds associated with the garage are ring-fenced for only the garage work, is that correct? And
That's
you're
correct.
being paid a management fee to complete that work?
Yep.
And
We have separate pay applications that get submitted for the garage specifically, and then the apartment side.
Okay, so we have nothing to do with the apartments. Once the garage is completed, where are you at as far as submitting for payment for the garage? Are you,
So we actually, JS Held, Philip Manning is the owner's representation for the city, did a field report last week, in which we talked about being able to bill for the items that are completed based on our walkthrough that we'll have here in probably the next few weeks. And then we'll hold the remaining funds. We won't bill for the remaining funds until all those items are complete.
There'll be some holdback
Yes,
until we're totally satisfied.
correct. And
what's the percentage of holdback? Is it like a retainage, is what you're talking
no,
about?
so retainage will not be released, other than maybe conversations with the city on the concrete portion. Once we get through that walkthrough and determination that they're comfortable with that, I can see the concrete vendor being kind of upset to wait for his retainage till the end of the duration of the project. So other than that, I don't see any retainage. But then the actual cost of work will be held back for if we don't have lights installed, we won't submit payment for lights, kind of in that manner.
Okay.
The few items that I could see going the duration of the apartments, kind of into early next summer, would be simple things like the cameras, just things that we won't want to get damaged. You know, if we install it, it gets damaged. Lighting will definitely get in there. Mechanical systems will definitely get in there, but it'll be a small percentage of items.
Okay. And I might be getting way too far in the weeds for this meeting and for this group, but prior to the release of the funds, will there be a civil engineer that will come in and validate the depths of the structures and making sure that they're in the right locations? This might sound strange, but if you ever been to Sophia Square in Carmel, the sidewalk is actually 6 inches higher off than the curb because the garage was not built deep enough.
Gotcha. Okay.
So trying to prevent anything like
Yeah,
that
I believe.
before funds are released.
Yeah, I believe through the garage consultant, the owner's representation, our testing agencies, third-party testing agencies, and civil review as-builts.
Okay, confirming that everything's
Yeah, we'll get that all
in the right place. Okay,
finalized.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Same subs on apartments and garage with 2 separate subcontracts, so it's easy enough.
Yeah, so it's all divided. I won't say that it's all the same. The major component, the MEP, it was all design build MEP, so all the major players are the same, definitely.
If you don't mind, one follow-up question. So from a Westfield Building Corporation standpoint of responsibility, do we even need, once the garage is fully approved and signed off on. Do we need to include that on our agenda going forward?
No, at that point, you wouldn't have any other responsibilities.
Okay,
And
And the firehouse is done?
Yeah, your key role is that financing aspect of the project.
Just confirming.
But we have taken this approach because of the profile of the projects.
Okay.
And I'm happy to come to the quarterly meeting, I'll give updates on the apartments and everything, just because I know it's of interest and things like that, but until we fully finish the garage, happy to come and provide updates, just so that if something does come up, we can talk about it during these meetings.
Well, from my perspective, I appreciate you coming and offering all that information about the rest of the project, but our key interest is fulfilling our duty is to see that the garage is, built the way it was specified to be built and within the financial constraints that we've been given.
Yep.
So that's our main interest. So my next question is the timeline for delivery of the garage so that it can be used. What's the anticipated timeline for completion of this project? The original project, that is to say, before the improvements were introduced.
So we didn't add any time because of the additional improvements, which is good. We did have the 6-month delay at the beginning of the project getting through the drain encapsulation through Hamilton County. So that was an initial delay, which then started us in the middle of winter last year, which then had 30+ days of delay, I think between, say, December and February, maybe March. But so the current plan is to have everything come online the beginning summer of '25. So right now our schedule says early June. I'm pushing our team to make that sometime in May, but we've got all the tenants on the south end of our building as well as Sun King and the garage all anticipated to come online approximately at the same time in the early months of '25.
So delivery of the garage will be around June 1st next year.
Yes.
So, okay, so 6/1/25. What's our payment schedule and when do we go into repayment on this garage?
Our first payment is July.
25?
Yeah.
Okay. First payment. Wow. Close.
To be clear, this is developer-backed, so that I just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page.
Okay. We go into repayment, but this is a gentlemen, this is a lease operation where we've been dealing with. It's pretty complex. We have the contract to build the garage that we financed is going to be leased to the RDC, through which Old Town's going to provide revenue for a number of spaces that will be used for their tenants. Is that correct?
That's correct.
The RDC is then going to be making the payments through the city or through the clerk treasurer's office through TIF funds.
We will make available any funds that are available that have been brought through that tax increment.
Okay,
If there's any shortfall, that's on the developer.
yeah. Considering where we're going to be, I'm interested in how that's going to work out on that for the first payment. Okay. Please keep us advised if you wouldn't mind. Gentlemen, any questions?
That prompts me to ask, so do we have, we have guarantees from Old Town on the payments, the first payments, regardless of what happens with if the garage is not operating, you backfill those payments, is that?
I would believe so, yes. I'd have to double check that, but
Is there a schedule you can share on the garage? Because,
yeah.
I think that might be helpful, if that's your concern, is just
I do not anticipate there being any issues with the garage opening and being available for use. We would, at early stages of next year, we have minimized or gotten rid of any fall hazard, public uses of the garage that we would be overly concerned about through the construction and tower crane operations of the apartments is the main reason is public safety for not being able to open that garage sooner.
How much working capital do you have reserved to make these payments in the event that you need to?
I couldn't answer that.
Yeah, I think it might, because I'm in line with what Curtis is saying relative to garage schedule, so I think it'd be helpful to kind of ease their concerns as well,
Yep.
relative to that. I think the biggest concern is coordinating site activities with access into the garage at that point.
Yep.
Less so turnover in construction, would be my perspective.
Ron, Janelle has some things she'd like to cover.
I beg your pardon?
Janelle has some things she'd like to recover. Janelle has some items she'd
Oh,
like to
okay.
cover.
Okay. Thanks, Curtis. Appreciate it.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Janelle Fairman, Director of Economic Development, and I just wanted to provide a couple of updates on actions that my department and the Facilities Department have taken to help make sure that we have the quality and we have the planning for the future of the project. First, Curtis had mentioned previously that we've engaged an owner's rep. This was done through the Economic Development Department. We brought in JS Held. Phil Manning is the representative from JS Held who has been walking the site and did provide a site report, which we provided to Old Town earlier. Curtis mentioned that. We are waiting for a response on how they're going to address some of the items that were mentioned in the report, some of them on the financial side, just us being able to understand the use of contingency and how we're addressing change orders, and then also just the quality control that he had mentioned specific to honeycombing. We also have engaged through the Facilities Department a group called Weiss Janey Elsner. They are an engineering firm located here in Indianapolis, and they will be doing two things. One, walking the garage from an engineering perspective, making sure that everything complies with the drawings as submitted, and then secondarily putting together a 10-year plan that we can use for planning for maintenance of the garage. So anticipating future replacement of joint sealants, concrete patching and repairing, any toppings or surfaces that might need to be repaired over time, elevator work, that type of thing, so that as we're working through an operating agreement with Old Town for the use of the reserved spaces, we are putting sufficient money into escrow to be able, or putting appropriations in place for the city to be able to maintain the garage over the life of the garage. So just wanted to be sure that you knew that we were taking those actions to prepare for the future as well. I think that's probably the primary information that I wanted to provide as an update. I know Ron had asked specifically about funding the costs of the additional change orders that were mentioned previously by Curtis. We are still reviewing where the sources of those funds will come. As it was explained to me when I started here in January, there were a number of decisions that had been pushed off to the future, specific to how the garage was going to be controlled. So we had some decisions to make on whether we were installing gates or installing this eco parking system. There was no budget in place for either one of those things, so these were, I believe, always anticipated to be an add to the project. So we've made the best decisions that we could. It is going to cost additional money. We are working with Bondry, our municipal advisor, and a couple of outside consultants to help anticipate whether there are additional TIF increment dollars that have not already been applied towards the financing of the garage that we might be able to apply, and look for other additional opportunities to support those change orders if that increment is not available. So I'll keep you updated as we have more information.
So a couple of things there. There's capital improvements that are going into the building.
Yes.
And then there's operational management that you're looking at to manage and operate the facility.
Correct.
Okay. So one will be financed. The capital improvements will be financed through either a mechanism in the city or a bond or whatever. You'll let us know which direction
Correct.
you're headed with that.
Yep.
The other piece will be an operational budgeted item that's going to come out of city funds.
We don't know exactly how that is going to be coordinated. This will primarily be led by Matt Deck, the Director of Facilities. It's going to be a combination of revenue coming in from the garage for all those reserved spaces. It could be appropriations. Still working through how that is going to be paid for long-term, but I would imagine that it will be some appropriations coming from the general fund.
I look forward to hearing about this. Gentlemen, any questions?
Yeah, we'll be sure to share the information once it's available on those estimates.
Yeah, well, so our leaseholders above will be making payments for their spaces, or will those payments be coming directly from Old Town?
We do not know yet. We haven't started drafting the agreement. JS Held, who's again working for my department as the owner's rep, they will be helping us work through that operating agreement. They have led that process with a number of other garages throughout the country. And so I believe that they have the right resources available to guide us in making those right decisions. My preference would be that we have that money coming in directly from Old Town rather than from the individual tenants, and that they roll that into their leases with their well, really the residential and commercial tenants.
Have you reviewed the lease agreement that we have with Old Town and the RDC?
I have not yet. This is part of our process of going through that operating agreement.
Yeah, from the standpoint of the transfer of the money from Old Town to them, you might want to review that. I think there might be
We
some-
absolutely will.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
thank you.
Yeah, listening very intently to what you're saying, but I would point out that we may want to ring fence the lease payments or the garage payments from the tenants directly for our benefit, and not pass through Old Town. The only reason why I say that is because ultimately, if something would happen to Old Town, which I'm not suggesting that there's anything happening to Old Town, however, those payments, which we are depending upon for our debt service, obviously, if we got them directly from, and were ring fenced, they wouldn't get caught up in any kind of turmoil or anything else. If we have a middle person in there, like Old Town, managing those funds or retaining those funds in the event of something happens. We're entering into a point in our economy, I believe, that we could start to see some challenges for real estate developers. Again, I want to make sure that Old Town realizes this has nothing to do with them, but it's based upon prior experience of being an old man. And I'd just be very conscientious of watching the funds, the trail of the money, making sure that it gets to us without anybody else getting into the middle of it and holding it up, that cash flow to us for those payments.
Yeah, I
that's my-
appreciate that input. It will definitely be something that's considered.
It's a good idea.
We have to consider the level of effort that it also takes the city to collect those funds from individual tenants when we don't have contracts with them directly. So that will be something that we definitely have to address. It may be that they have a certain number of reserved spaces that they're paying for, that they're able to distribute out as they see fit, and if they haven't paid for those, that those then revert back to public spaces, and then we can administer them however we please. We'll definitely make sure that we have those protections in place so that we have the revenue coming in or the opportunity to collect it.
Yeah, we don't,
Well stated.
thank you.
For the sake of the gentleman here, and even myself, John, if you could give us the address where we can go find the lease agreement between us and the RDC, and the financing agreement between the RDC and Old Town. There are lease agreements out there right now that are in effect that may need to be brought forward based on the and reviewed based on the information that we have just heard.
Understood. They're in the directories, and I can
Okay.
forward links to everybody
If you can
to
just
get
let us
that.
know, yeah, if you, because it's been a little while since I've walked through that lease, but it seems to me that we're talking about a new version of it, or we want to make sure that we're all on the same page with the way the leasing agreement is stated today.
I don't think we're looking at a new version as much as maybe addending the existing.
Whatever it takes to make it right.
Okay.
And get it done. I mean, that's all I'm interested in. I don't want to have any don't want to get up to the point when next July when we're supposed to be making a payment and we've got a problem with transferring money. Just to say it bluntly.
I don't want to micromanage this process. That's not what my first meeting here, I'm not suggesting in any way, shape, or form. The city hires professionals. We have a mayor, obviously, that ultimately is responsible vis-a-vis the election process. And I'm not trying to micromanage the process here, and I'm not trying to suggest that. I just want a high-level consideration of these kinds of things because these are more challenging times are likely ahead for us than what we've been so fortunate for the last 10 to 15 years, frankly. And so we just want to be positioned in the most bulletproof position. And I know
Absolutely.
we can rely upon you all to do that for us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Questions? No? Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate the update. Okay. Now we kind of start wrapping it up with some things that we need to do here. So if you guys want to stay, you can. But the meeting schedule for the rest of the year. I guess I would open the floor here to discussion between the three of us as to what's the best time for you guys to meet and when. If we want to continue to work it quarterly or start changing that discussion.
I don't have any prior experience, so I would rely upon you to determine how frequently these need to be held. And frankly, I have control over my calendar, so it's very rare when I can't control it to move something else around for city business if necessary.
Likewise, I defer to you. Fine.
Okay. Okay. John, do we have another meeting scheduled for this fall?
We have been scheduling in the past quarterly meetings on this day of the week at this time of the day. If you all in agreement with that, I could work with Ron and we could come up with a schedule and send it out to everybody, if that's okay with the attorney. Yeah.
All right, okay. Fine?
Yeah.
Okay, good. We'll move on to, so we'll leave it to that, and we'll get that out within the next few days or next couple of weeks. Additional business. One of the things that has come up since we were constituted in 21 in October, we had annual meetings in the fall, and we would re-elect or elect officers at that point in time. But with the new administration coming in, the consensus is that we need to be doing that sooner. So consulting the bylaws, we have section 4.5, which has to do with the annual meeting, at which point in time, board of directors are supposed to meet according to the bylaws. The annual meeting of the Board of Directors shall be held each year within 6 months of the close of the fiscal year as designated by the Board of Directors and specified in the respective notes or waivers or notice thereof. It has been noted that the common practice for the city of Westfield is that all of the committees will meet in the first half of the year, generally in the first quarter, for that annual meeting. So I'm asking us to have some discussion here as to how we want to address our annual meeting and if there is any changes that we want to make to the bylaws. And I've asked Caitlin to weigh in on this by email, and I believe you've told me that it's a matter of a discussion and a vote. Is that correct?
Yeah, so to amend your bylaws, it's just a majority vote. There's a few things you can amend that deal with like your term and how you come to office and things like that. But for things like this, my suggestion would either be to have the annual meeting within the first 6 months of the year or amend the bylaws to state the practice that you all would like to follow, just by a majority vote.
No, I have no heartburn over either way. I just want to make sure that we develop a consistent method that is compatible and acceptable within the rest of the commission bodies of the city.
Sorry, I'm indifferent. First 6 months of the year is fine with me for any meeting.
Okay, so I would entertain a motion to suggest that we would amend the bylaws or add to the bylaws to say that our annual meeting shall be within the first 6 months of the year.
I
Well,
moved.
it does already say within the first 6 months of the, okay, it doesn't say within the first. It says within 6 months of the close of the fiscal year. So would it be to just say within the first 6 months of each year?
Yep.
Okay.
Take out within to add,
To be clear, our fiscal year is the calendar year.
Oh, great.
correct.
So if it's within 6 months of the fiscal close, it would be the first 6 months
Of the year.
of the following year. So I think you're there, unless I'm.
That's how I read it as well.
Is,
They're already in place. We already have it
so,
set
so
up.
we've, now, I think where Ron's taken this is, here we are, our first meeting of the year, and it's July 10th. So
Correct, so
we
we're
didn't,
outside.
we missed that.
Yes.
And again, I don't want to speak for Ron, but I think the goal here is to not have this happen again.
Correct. So if we say within, instead of within 6 months of the close of the fiscal year, within the first 6 months of the fiscal year, of current fiscal year.
Then to the next year, if we said it that way, I believe.
What-
Would need to, so the first meeting would be for 23 would be in 24, or 24 would be in 25. If it's the next fiscal year. I think the words.
I mean, I think the way it
The-
reads
the-
currently would be within 6 months of the close of the fiscal year. So the close of the fiscal year was December 31. So then the meeting should take place within 6 months
After the
December
close of the
31.
fiscal, yeah.
So we,
Yes.
what we just clearly didn't.
See, that's
Meet
that's
that.
the confusion, because
Yeah.
we've always had our annual meeting at the anniversary of the election of officers.
Yeah.
And that started in October of '21.
So so in this case, you're now in the right cycle. Yeah, because you can have, I believe that states the election of the officers is at that time.
Yes.
Yeah,
January?
yeah, so you could just follow the schedule. Even if we meet in January, and we've done this with other commissions and committees, just to elect officers. That's the meeting, right? So that we can carry out business when we need to carry out business. We could do that. And as part of the schedule that you and I will be developing, Ron, we could make that January date what you vote on, or what we come up with, pass around.
Okay, so what we've done today is elect the officers for '24. And if we have an annual meeting again in the first quarter of '25.
Correct.
We could elect officers for '25.
Correct.
And how's that sound, gentlemen?
Sounds good.
Okay, sounds good. Do we need to do anything other than that?
I don't think so. I think the way it reads right now is that the meeting should be before, before 6 months of the current year passes. So I would just recommend following that practice and holding an annual meeting early in the year just to elect officers.
Okay. So, we have no motion to make, or nothing other than an agreement as to the interpretation of section 4.5. Is that correct?
That's correct, and then you and I will develop the calendar.
Okay,
We will send that calendar out, and we will advertise that calendar.
all right. Gentlemen, fine? No.
You're okay with more business? I just have a couple questions for staff. So we have the fire station done. So is there any further new business coming to this body that we anticipate, or will the downtown corp, or the downtown Westfield Community Development Corp be the new conduit?
We will be using both conduits.
Okay.
Right now, we are working with, through the team, the mayor, the deputy mayor, our financial advisors, and we're going to come up with the best strategy for doing those things moving forward. Because there are times, again, from just a financing position, this is the most effective. It's efficient and effective, frankly. But there are other cases where it will make all the sense in the world for the Westfield Downtown Community Development Corporation to carry out that.
Yeah, and I don't care one way or the other, but after 25 years of working with Jim Brainerd, I can tell you that you may want to consider having the same board's membership from an educational standpoint and understanding of complexities with relationships between the entities and so forth. That's my only suggestion, because you will be overcome with all of these boards and all of these board members.
Sure.
If we don't all have the same game plan and understanding, because
Yeah.
you get, my first meeting, I'm just backfilling here, but that's my suggestion to you. It's
I don't think
obviously
that's a bad
it's
idea.
completely up to our mayor.
Janelle's the right person, and we'll pass this along to
Yeah,
her.
I mean, save yourself some time and people, and yeah, it's crazy. That's all I have, Mr. President.
Sort of like the more moving parts you have, the more opportunity there is for failure. Yeah. Any other
Good board members and smart board members, and keep them limited.
Any other comments or conversation? I will accept the move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
So taken, adjourned. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Great delegation on